Mandatory property rights can be infringed occurs when the feds give regional boards grants to be used to entice the local government to advance the goals of the federal government. We are fortunate to have Kim Laurie here today, who is on the board of NOACA, which is a regional board located in northeastern Ohio. She will explain to you how this occurs.
Thank you. I just want to tell you real quick that I received that position on the board due to my activism in protecting property rights. I got the attention of one of the commissioners in Geauga County, and I'm his alternate on that board. So, the designers of Agenda 21 knew that they would never be able to convince Americans to give up our liberties if it was foisted upon us from the top down. So they determined it would need to be implemented incrementally at the local level. An organization called the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives, International Council on Local Initiatives, was created to help implement Agenda 21 in local governments across the world, including the United States. The designers of Agenda 21 also knew that Americans currently enjoying rights to own larger pieces of property would be the most reluctant to accept these changes. Therefore, they needed some way for the more cooperative people in cities to make the decisions for the rural communities. According to the group, Democrats Against UN Agenda 21, and yes, there is such a thing, by concentrating power in cities, this group circumvents requirements for ratification of international treaties and gives the illusion of local control. The cities then ally in regional conglomerates which break jurisdictional boundaries and will destroy local control. These regional boards are unelected and not answerable to the citizenry. Conveniently, in the United States, regional organizations already existed by federal mandate in the form of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, or MPOs, which were created as a result of the passage of the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1962. MPOs are funded by our federal gas tax dollars through the transportation bills passed by Congress every couple of years. These bills are constantly morphing to take the money that's supposed to be used to maintain our road and bridge infrastructure and redistributing it to Agenda 21 inspired projects. It's important to note that MPOs are not regional governments. They, on their own, have no power to implement any visions that they may have. The power they do have, however, is the funding of the implementation of projects which further their vision. Therefore, they don't serve as a regional government per se, but they serve as a regional grant maker, dangling the proverbial carrot on a stick in front of the noses of unsuspecting elected officials who don't take the time to investigate the motivation behind these initiatives. MPOs are structured with a board of directors which consists of local elected officials and departmental appointees. The MPO that covers 5 of the Northeast Ohio counties, Lake, Geauga, Cuyahoga, Medina, and Lorain, is called the Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency, or NOACA, and it is one of the most powerful in the state. Earlier I mentioned that Agenda 21 relies on these regional organizations to break jurisdictional boundaries and erode local control. That is exactly what's happening in Northeast Ohio with NOACA. Here's the current makeup of the NOACA Board of Directors. Board members are distributed by population according to the most recent census. As you can see, members from Cuyahoga County outnumber the board members from the rest of the counties combined. Since the boards of the MPOs determine funding priorities for the local governments that apply for that funding, rural communities who are more adverse to Agenda 21 policies are drowned out by the cities. Before I give some specific examples of the federal government's funding carrots and the Agenda 21 projects that result, one more major piece of this regional puzzle is the public-private partnership. Even though MPOs are not governments, they're created by governments and funded with tax dollars, and so are public agencies. Public agencies are restricted by things such as the law and the Constitution, but private non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, have more flexibility, and oftentimes an NGO is created for a specific purpose to help a specific public agency work around legal restrictions. This was going to be hard to read, it's pretty small. Chapter 38 of Agenda 21 actually describes NGOs as important partners in the implementation of Agenda 21. In 2010, NOACA created a public-private partnership with the newly formed Northeast Ohio Sustainable Communities Consortium, or NEOSCC. NEOSCC was established to maintain or to manage the $4.25 million federal grant from President Obama's Partnership for Sustainable Communities in order to develop an Agenda 21-inspired regional sustainability plan for a 12-county Northeast Ohio planning area. They called this planning process Vibrant NEO 2040, and as a result of this planning process, NUSCC came up with its vision and recommendations for the region. Here are two side-by-side demographic maps of Lake County and the very top portion of neighboring Geauga County. On the left is the current population distribution as created by the free movement of people to live where and in what type of neighborhoods they choose. In this map, green means rural. On the right is NUSCC's vision for the distribution by the year 2040. In this map, green is conserved land, meaning no human development. Within the mass field of green are small pockets of lighter green, which do represent rural living, but by now the term rural will have been redefined. Just look at the pictures here. These are a couple pages of a document published by the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commissioner, MORPC, which covers the central Ohio counties, which include Franklin County. MORPC distributed this document to other MPOs, including NOACA. Notice how they have redefined rural living. These will be small pockets of dense developments in the middle of nowhere that the previous map shows as rural communities. And here's NUSCC's vision for the entire 12-county Northeast Ohio region. Dense residential zones surrounded by a massive amount of conserved land with a few bits of redefined rural and agricultural zones sprinkled in. This year, the 45 members of NOACA's Board of Directors voted to adopt a regional strategic plan with vast inclusions of NUSCC's recommendations without an explanation of them. It appears they were content voting for it in order to find out what was in it. I was one of the two that voted no. There are many examples I could share with you of the kinds of things being done in Northeast Ohio that you should look into in your own communities. However, I only have time for one. One of the grants offered by NOACA is the Total Livable Communities Initiative, or TLCI. This grant is funded using dollars originally allocated for road and bridge infrastructure maintenance, but redirects those dollars to projects that promote alternative forms of transportation, including but not limited to mass transit, bike lanes, waterways, etc. As indicated in the name, the stated goal of TLCI is to make your community more livable. So what exactly does livable mean? This is the Department of Transportation's website. In orange there is the definition of livability. Luckily, NOACA had provided a link to the United States Department of Transportation website, and it states the definition of livability as being able to take your kids to school, go to work, see a doctor, drop by the grocery or post office, go out to dinner and a movie, and play with your kids at the park, all without having to get in your car. I hope I was able to provide an informative overview of MPOs, their role in the implementation of Agenda 21, and the erosion of local control. I would strongly recommend identifying if your county belongs to an MPO, and if so, attending their meetings so you can see what's coming down the pike, and while you're there, please speak up. I don't know for sure, but I suspect the situation our next speaker is contending with may have been the result of similar efforts in her region. Thank you.